the channel. Something a little bit different today. I'm not shooting a precision rifle match, I'm doing a little bit of a scope mounting video for you. Why am I mounting a new scope on my rifle? Well, my old scope went down and is now back with Optics Warehouse for warranty repair. So I've got instead today this very nice Vortex Razor H2 HD Gen 2, which has kindly been loaned to me by Chris at Vortex Optics UK. So thank you very much, Chris. Chris actually came to my rescue. The scope that normally sits on my Bergara HMR 6.5 creedmoor is the same scope as I have on the Bergara B14R, which is an IOR Recon 4-28 by 50 MRAD first focal plane scope. I was actually at a precision rifle match with my son Luca a few weeks back, and the scope that normally sits on this rifle, the IOR, I actually noticed that on the first stage, which was at 800 meters, my rounds were falling about 10 clicks low, 10 clicks short of the target. Now, we don't get a chance to zero the rifle at some of our precision rifle matches here. We are expected to turn up with a rifle that's ready to go, that's ready zeroed. So I found it a bit strange that I was hitting low. I adjusted and started hitting steel. No problems. Moved on to the next stage and again hitting steel. We then had a break later on in the day for lunch, and after lunch we were shooting targets, I think it was about 300-400 meters, and once again I've discovered that I was shooting below the target, and I had to make further corrections on the scope. So it felt to me like maybe something was wrong with either the scope or the rifle. And when I got it home, what I did was I stripped everything down, checked everything over, took the base off everything, completely cleaned down the rifle, cleaned out the chamber, got everything as best as I could reset to base. I then remounted everything, took the rifle out into the field, re-zeroed it at 100 meters, and again, when I'm re-zeroing, I noticed that it was shooting a little bit low, but that could have been because I stripped down the rifle. So I adjusted, re-zeroed the rifle. What I also noticed, however, was that when I took my first shot and some subsequent shots, the IOR started to drop out of focus, and that obviously is not right. I took the rifle back to 200-300 meters, shot some more groups. Everything was grouping well, but again the rifle would continuously, you know, after group from group to group, just start to shoot a little bit low. So I decided that the problem was with the scope rather than with anything else. Like I say, the scope's gone back in. I then posted about this on social media, and a few people offered to loan me a scope because they knew that I had an upcoming precision rifle match, and I didn't want to have the rifle out of action. So, but however, Chris at Vortex Optics UK heard my concerns, my troubles, and he actually got in touch and offered to send me out on loan this very nice Vortex Razor HD Gen 2. Let's just get this box out of the way here, and we'll talk a little bit about this scope. I must say it's a colour that I've not. We'll start with the colour. Let's get that out of the way. It's a colour of a scope that I've not really been enamoured to in the past, but now I've got it here and paired up next to the brown stock of the HMR, I must confess I think that the two actually do go together quite well. So yeah, so this is a 4.5 to 27 magnification scope, which is very similar to the magnification range for my IOR Recon, which was a 4 to 28. It's a 56mm objective. My IOR was 50mm, and my IOR had a 40mm main tube, whereas this is a 34mm main tube, which also caused me a problem because it meant that I couldn't put this scope in the spur mount that normally sits on this rifle. And I pointed this out to Chris, so Chris again was very generous and gave me the lend of this mount, which, as you can see, I've already loosened off. And this is a Aero Precision USA ultralight scope mount. It's quite an unusual mount, actually. It's made from aluminium, and it's a one-piece cantilever at the front there. It's got a locking clamp here for the Picatinny rail, and it's actually got hooks at the top where the scope ring, the other side of the scope ring, actually hooks on there, and then you just fasten it down at the bottom there with 2 screws front and 2 screws rear. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what that means in terms of mounting the scope, because I'm used to being able to position the scope in the rings. I've actually got tier 1 mount here, uni mount, mono mount on the 300 PRC Bergara Wilderness, and that's really easy to set up because you just drop the scope on the top, place the top of your scope rings over, just finger tighten the screws there, and then you can adjust the scope to make sure that you've got it in the correct position and the correct alignment. It's a little bit trickier with the spur because these are diagonally mounted rings, but again the scope will sit nicely on it. But there's nothing here to support the bottom of the scope until you get the other side of the rings on, so it's going to be very interesting to see if that's trickier when mounting the scope. And that's not normally the style of scope mount that I'd go for, but it's what Chris had available on the shelf to help me out with. So again, thanks very much, Chris, Vortex Optics UK, Country Sports Wholesales, for coming to my rescue and helping me out when I've only got a couple of weeks left before a precision rifle match. So I'll just put that back down there. So again, the scope, it's in MRAD, which is great because MRAD is what I normally shoot with. It's what I'm used to. It has got 10 mils per rotation on the elevation and 5 on the windage, and those are locking caps, so you just lift up to unlock. I don't know if you can hear that, but those clicks are really nice and precise. There's no way that you're going to miscount on those, and they feel great. The turrets feel very solid, and similarly on the windage, very nice feel on those turrets. So let's lock that down. The reticle in this scope is actually an older version of the precision rifle focused reticle. It's the EBR2 reticle, not the EBR7, which some people consider is maybe an upgrade on the EBR2. But actually, I really like this reticle, and I don't know whether, Chris, you've planned it like this, but my IOR, the reticle in my IOR doesn't have 0.2 hash marks across the reticle on the vertical and the horizontal. It actually has 0.5 and 1 mil hash marks, and that's exactly what we've got in this reticle, which I really like. It's just easier on my eye, and it just makes the reticle feel less cluttered. But what it does have out at the edges and at the very top there, it does have hash marks from 5 out to 9 at 0.1 mil, obviously for fine measuring and ranging, which is a really nice touch, having that out at the outer edges of the reticle if you ever do need it. And it is a Christmas tree reticle, the same as with my IOR, with windage holes at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way down to 10 mils. Yeah, it's a very nice reticle. It's got an open centre. I'm usually used to a dot in the centre there, in the centre of the reticle, but this is open, so it's going to be interesting to see how I get on with that. But just looking at that reticle, it's really nice. I think I'm going to get on handsomely with it. Yeah, so yeah, really nice scope. It's quite heavy, not much heavier than my IOR, I wouldn't say, but it just feels very robust and well made. So right, I think we probably need to get down to business now and get this mounted. So the rail on here is a 20 MOA rail. It's a Bergara proprietary steel rail. I've already put it on when I was trying out to see what the problem was with the rifle with the IOR. So it's blue Loctited, it's torqued down, nothing more that I need to do with that. So let's have a look at getting this Aero Precision USA mounted. Like I say, it's a design that I'm really not familiar with. It takes a T15 Torx bit, and I've got the Wheeler digital torque wrench. Now this is all aluminium, so I went online just to check what the base torque settings need to be, because with it being all aluminium, the metal's going to be a little bit softer. With the spur, I know that the base clamps are 45 inch-pounds, and when I went online I could see that these should be 25 inch-pounds. So we're just going to push that forward, because obviously when the rifle recoils, you want to have that nice and tightly butted up against the crossbars of the Picatinny rail. But what we'll do for now is we will just secure it so nothing's really moving about, but I won't fully tighten it down yet until I've got a good idea about whether it's positioned in the right place for the scope. Okay, and to do that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the scope. Again, this feels a bit strange coming out from the side rather than from the top, but we'll just sit that in there, and I'll make the finer adjustments later, but I've got a good eye for where the back of my scope should be lining up, where I normally like it, and that looks like that is absolutely spot on there. It's not quite in the middle here, but that's fine, because I'm going to need to do some fine adjustments on that anyway. But yeah, I think I've got that base in the right position, so just take the scope back off and drop it down. People say that they don't get on very well with this digital version of the Wheeler, I think it's the fat wrench, is it? And they prefer the mechanical version, but actually I get on really well with it, never had a problem with it. Although I do find that dialing in the setting takes a little bit of a time, because it has to move in 0.1 increments. Right, so that's pushed as far forward as I can get it, 25 inch-pounds. Let's start tightening this up, middle, front, back, go to the middle again. There we go, that's a 25, that's a 25, okay, great, that's on nice and tight. So we'll take the front ring, place that in there carefully. Now this scope is on loan to me, which means it's got to go back at some point, so I'm going to be very careful with it. I don't want to scratch up the body. I'll say that finish, that I don't know what colour you'd call it, but it's really starting to grow on me. Never thought I'd admit to that. Okay, so that's on there. Get the back one on. Again, I am not putting these on tight whatsoever, because we need to make sure that the scope, I've got the correct eye relief for the scope, everything's leveled off, so the bore of the rifle, when that's level, the reticle is also level. I've actually got some 3 mini bubble levels here, which I've calibrated and checked them all out, and they are all aligned with one another. But there's a plumb line further down outside there that we'll use for the final check on the reticle, just to make sure that the scope is mounted correctly. Okay, so that's sat in there now, but I can still move it back and forward and just rotate it in there. So let's get these little levels popped on the rifle. We need to make sure that the rifle is level first, and then we can start leveling off the scope. Now, like I say, the final verification that everything is level will be done with the reticle lined up with a plumb line, which is down the garden there. But these levels will just make sure that I'm in the right ballpark to begin with. You know, you can never guarantee that the top of the scope cap is going to be flat, although that is a nice flat area for purposely for this purpose. But we'll just use that as a guide for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come behind the rifle a little bit. We're going to make sure that the rifle is level first. Okay, so that's level. Yeah, that's all level. Without disturbing the rifle, we'll get that into position as well. Yeah, that's all level. Next job, with my coffee and my glasses out of the way, comes with a sunshade as well. Let's just get behind the rifle now. Oh, look at that. Drop my face onto it. Yeah. I think that's fine. I don't think I can get that any better. Okay, great. So that's nicely in position, and look, that's right in the middle of the rings as well. Okay, excellent. So we have got 15-inch pounds now for the rings. Very important to make sure that I adjust this, because if I try tightening them down to 25, I might get in trouble. Like I say, it does take a little while for these to come. Now, normally you'd be looking at a lot more screws on the rings than this, and you'd be going across in a crosshatch sort of pattern to make sure that as you're tightening everything down, you're not nipping in one particular area, moving the scope about. So what we'll do is, as we go carefully through the rings, I'll go front, back, a different screw every fourth go. And we'll just keep a little eye on the bubble level, just to make sure that the scope isn't shifting. Just make sure this line isn't shifting too much as we go. And before we nip everything down, we shall make sure that we check it with that plumb line, but it was looking all right just a moment ago. Right, okay, so yeah, I would like to say thank you to everybody that did get in touch and offer the lend of a scope. I was very much spoilt for choice. I really couldn't turn down Chris though, because he's been a fantastic support to the precision rifle shooting community and the shooting community in general. Very nice guy who likes to help people out. And he in my precision rifle team, Team Jackal from Jackal Firearms, Vortex are actually a supporter of the team. So it was the obvious, wasn't a very difficult choice to say I'd give this scope a try. Right, those are tightening up just nicely. I'm pleasantly surprised how easy it's been to mount the scope in these rings actually. I really did think that it wouldn't be as easy as mounting the scope in a traditional set of horizontally aligned rings, but these vertical rings just absolutely fine, no problems at all. What I am noticing though is just as I'm tightening things up, the scope is just ever slightly starting to rotate, rotating off to the right there ever so slightly. Yeah, I'm just going to have to ease them screws off a little bit more and address that. And this is why you just you know, as you're tightening, as you're working it, you just keep checking everything. Make sure that you're not knocking anything out. Right, let's go. Maybe if I just hold the scope as I'm doing this. Looking through the scope, I have been just checking out the glass since it arrived. Checked it in low light and also in good lighting conditions, and I must say that the glass clarity is very good. It's exceptional, really. In the IOR, which has shot glass, again, excellent clear glass. But what you find with the IOR is it's tinted. It's got like a slightly yellowish brownish tint to it, whereas with this scope, it's a lovely clear glass. Right, I think we can start. Before we do the final torque down, let's just check this against the plumb level one more time. Yeah, that's on. Nice, yeah, that's great, perfect. So, let's get this tightened down all the way. So 15, there we go. That's the very first front one. 15, there we go. I've got to come out of the house to do this because the noise drives my wife crazy. So maybe I should get a mechanical one. Let's have a look. There we go. It's coming together nicely. Nearly finished. That's it, done. Yeah, everything's level, all lined up perfectly. Must say it's got a really nice wide field of view, this scope, and it does look very good on the HMR. I will eventually retire this rifle. It's not going to be shooting competitions after this year. I'm going to keep it as a dedicated stalking rifle. So when the IOR comes back, the IOR all the way back from Romania, I don't know how long that's going to take, but once it does come back, it's going back on this rifle, dedicated stalking rifle, and next year I will be having a chassis rifle, completely new setup, not going with a traditional stock anymore for precision rifle, although this has served me very well, and as has the B14R. So I'm going to be very interested to see how this scope works out, because this scope might be investing in one myself, get my own one, and see how we get on with it for precision rifle. Yeah. So thanks for tuning in. If you've got any questions about the scope, about the base, about the Bergara, anything you'd like to know about how to mount a scope, then please drop us a line in the comments. Happy to answer any questions. Please like the video, please subscribe. If you want to see more of these sorts of videos and not just me shooting, let me know, and I'll be happy to oblige. So great, thanks very much everybody, take care.